Hey, Rhinestoners! Welcome to the eighth episode of Rhinestone.
Rhinestoned. Hi,
And on New
Steph.
Year's Eve, no less.
Oh my God, we're doing it.
Happy New Year's Eve. I wore earrings just to match the occasion.
So good.
Thank
Now,
you,
where did we get these
Mom.
earrings?
Mama gave these to me for my birthday, I think.
Do they say Happy New Year's Eve on
They
them?
say Happy New Year's on them. Not
Oh,
Eve, but I
guys.
figured they were
So cute. I have
appropriate.
nothing festive. I wore cheetah to try to be, I don't know, fun.
Yeah. Well, I
That's my
think
contribution.
cheetah's festive. Pretty
Thank you.
festive. You doing anything for New Year's Eve tonight?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Last year I was pregnant and we went out to like a really nice Italian restaurant and ate really good food. But to be honest, I am going to sit my little booty down and hope and pray that they overserve Anderson and Andy.
Yeah, I am kind of sad to miss that. I might record it. That's one of
Mm.
my favorite
Wait, what are
things
you
that
doing?
happen.
What are you doing?
We're going out. We got kind of like a two-person table situation at this lounge downtown, far away from Midtown and all of the Times Square madness. I saw this video this morning that I have to mention this because I just am always astounded. Every time of year that this comes around, I just cannot believe it. Of people that were already out there first thing this morning, like waiting, and they will be there all day. And in the video, they're like interviewing them about how they're going to go to the bathroom. And they go to this girl, like,
Diapers.
what are you going to do? And she's like, I have a diaper on right now.
Diapers.
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 I just, I don't know. I also feel like it's one of these things that only started getting discussed in recent years, which is also interesting. I think we should be studying that as a culture, right? Like, why is it that this just now became something that we're talking about? Are we more comfortable talking about these things? But anyways, I just cannot believe, like, it is really funny when you think about like us growing up, watching Dick Clark and all the different specials, and that all of those people that you're
Doubled
looking
up in
at
defense.
are just sitting there in their own waste
Right.
for the
Right.
entirety of the day. And they were like out there probably like, I think it's like 6 a.m. this morning or something like that. Like, I don't even know how you're standing there for that long with people up on you.
Is
Like,
it not cold? This is another thing too. You now have a wet diaper that is getting colder by the minute.
oh,
Like that's so you're sitting in just like 60, 50 degree. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's another thing. I feel like I would just be frozen from the inside out. Um,
I mean, I guess the body heat from other people is probably helpful, but yeah, I don't know.
oh,
It's crazy to me. I think there needs to be like, maybe it's not worth a full documentary, but I wish someone would do like a more in-depth look at what that is like. Like interview these people during the night. Interview them right now. They've already been out there what, like 5, 6 hours, you know? I don't know. I'm like morbidly curious. But
oh,
yeah,
you know
I
what
think
that makes me think of though? Wouldn't that be such a maybe someone's doing it, but someone with a following should do a TikTok live of
yes.
that,
Just show,
beginning
I think
to
it would be
end.
fascinating. Like go
Yes.
around. They probably
And
you
what the
can't get
payoff
access
is.
unless you're in there. That's probably the problem.
Okay, so needless
Maybe
to say, because
someone.
I was going to ask, you would never do that. But yeah, I'm realizing not only would you never do that because of the diaper thing, but also it would require you to get there at 6 a.m. You
Oh
would have
yeah,
to
you
do all that.
basically and like the other part that I think is just terrifying is that when you get there, they hold you into gates and then they open the gates and then it's basically what you would imagine, right? Um
A stampede.
Obviously NYPD I think does a good job of slowing people down, but just that whole situation would be I think spiking my anxiety. But no, I thought of you. I actually do think I sent this to you that I think they were doing an interview, Andy and Anderson prepping or like in advance, but they were at your favorite place, Corner Bistro.
Oh my God, you guys. You
They're
guys.
just sitting there. You know, they go there like, I think probably once a week because he talks about it all the time. Like, oh, like we'll go out and party and then we'll like head to Corner Bistro before we go back home.
My favorite place. I could easily put down three corner bistro drafts like
Oh, yeah.
in one sitting. I mean, they give them to you in those little
The
tiny
small
glasses.
glasses, the
And then the
McSorleys.
burger and it's just, oh man. And how like dark it is in there and just the feeling of like that you're sitting in a piece of history.
I
It's my
know.
favorite thing ever.
I don't even know if I told you that one opened in the East Village. So we have one closer to us. It's their first only, like first ever second location, but we haven't gone. So we have to go. But I think part of why I haven't been more like itching to go is because for me, like exactly you said, 50% of it is the burgers and the beer, and then the other 50% of it is the location,
Yeah.
right? So I just know this East Village one. I'm sure it's cute inside, but I know it's not going to have that same
Yeah, like
history.
I'm just thinking about like get me in that fucking one bathroom stall. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
it is. It's just such a. So, anyways,
it's the
next time
whole
you
thing of
come, we're
it.
going to go every night in the hopes of seeing Andy and Anderson at
Oh well,
Cornucopia.
I was listening I was in line at like a McDonald's picking up a kids meal, and they were talking about the New Year's programming, and it was like Dick Clark's New Year's Eve, and then Ryan C. And there was just something that was so heartening about that I was like, man, I don't know why. It's not like I love Dick Clark or anything, but I just hope that forever and a day we continue to call it Dick Clark's
Clark. Yeah.
New Year's Eve, and then we just
Nostalgic.
sub in whatever white man will take that role for eternity, I guess.
I still really don't like Ryan Seacrest, but that's a conversation for another day.
Oh, and he's
Oh,
on Wheel of Fortune now. It's terrible. Anyway, yep. Moving on.
Rhinestoners, we are very excited, or actually, I should say, I know you in particular are very, very excited because you had this great idea that we do sort of a 2025 recap episode. And we're gonna go through just like some of our faves. This is not,
Right.
please do not come from us. This is not like a surgical exercise or something. Like, there's no listicles here. We just wanna, share with you all some of the things that we enjoyed. But I think before we get into that, like, I would be remiss. We have to talk about Stephon Diggs.
We do.
It's Rhinestone. We talk about pop culture. This is probably the hottest story in pop culture right now. Stephon Diggs has been, well, he was arrested, right?
Yeah, he was charged.
Strangulation. Story goes, got into an altercation with his personal chef. She was seeking payment that she hadn't received, and a verbal and physical altercation ensued. He pushed her on the bed. One of the more interesting tidbits that has come out, because I think no one is really surprised that Stephon Diggs, sorry to say, has been arrested. But Cardi B apparently was trying to pay off the woman to not come forward. She is claiming to have multiple text messages and phone calls that she recorded from Cardi saying, please don't go to the cops. What do you want? I just, so
I want to be
fascinating.
respected at my job. What are you talking? What
It's
I
just so
want.
crazy that you can get to that level of wealth and fame and still be stupid enough to try and bribe somebody.
Well, it's also this misconception that people have that we are all motivated by the same things, and we're not.
Yeah,
Some people aren't motivated by your money, your dirty money. You know what I mean?
it's a great
So,
point.
some people have
Especially when
moral.
you've been like wronged. Like I think like initial like I think you go through phases when something like tragic or terrible happens to you. I think like before you start thinking about reimbursement or whatever, I think the first thing that happens to you is you just want that other person to face justice,
Yeah.
right? To your point.
Yep.
So, yeah, Cardi B paying her off, it's like it usually makes you feel more weird and dirty about what's happened to you when you
Yeah.
start to. So
Yep.
I just but yeah, I think it's like I know Cardi B is a very controversial figure in some sense, right? Like, but I also think she also has a lot of like public support. I like her. I've always liked her. I know she has, her storied past or whatever, but like, I think she's entertaining. I think for the most part, she's fairly authentic, or at least has sort of shown like a different way of celebrity. So I think for me, it just makes me really sad that she's, still kind of coming out of surviving Offset. And now it's like she's put herself in a even worse position in
Yeah.
some ways,
I
right?
agree. Yeah.
And
And
it's just sad.
it's sad. And I would say the interesting thing, this is my read on Cardi. The interesting thing to me is that Cardi finds herself in this position, and I don't mean to be hyperbolic when I say this, like she created in Invasion of Privacy like a real piece of art. People love that album. It's the Kanye problem, right?
Yeah.
It's like I hate Kanye, but he made my beautiful dark twisted fantasy, and like
And I
that's a
still
real
listen to that.
problem for me, right? So I think Cardi suffers from that same affliction where it's like she actually is, or she pays incredible songwriters. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
whatever it is though, she's got that secret sauce of knowing how to make a hit,
Yeah.
and it keeps her relevant. But unfortunately, she, I think, is someone who suffers from like a real lack of self-esteem. I don't
Yeah.
think she thinks that she's worth maybe the type of love that
That
she
she is.
so obviously is. And so yeah, she's going to find herself in these positions over and over and over again where you're taking up for a man until you see the error of his own ways, right? Until you come out of the other side, which is the whole offset of it all, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, same thing. She defended that guy for so long until she realized like, oh, he sucks, right? So
Yeah.
it's disappointing to see. And I think the other thing too is, and I don't want to get like too much on my high horse about this, but I think like it is important just to remember that like you're bringing like lives into this. And like that's just like an important thing to just think about, you know? Like
Yeah.
let's just be a little bit more, because now her kid is going to potentially have a dad that's in jail.
Yeah. I mean, I doubt he's going to do much time for this. I think like they'll probably settle out of court or something like that, but I think there's a pattern there most likely. And yeah, I don't know. It's just really weird. She doesn't have a good picker, that
No,
Cardi.
and I was thinking, this is like a
Does
whole.
make for great music though.
Oh no, makes for great music. And I think the last thing I will say about all of this stuff in general is like the idea that people are going to get away with this stuff in an age. Oh, it goes back to what I was saying about having to put these shows in the 90s and early 2000s, right? Because like
Yeah.
the world we're living in now is like everything is filmed, taped, recorded. The idea that you're going to be able to go against this woman's word when, for example, she's already recording the Cardi stuff, right? It's like
Yeah.
so stupid. It's like, you guys, there was probably camera inside your house. Like there's probably film of him doing that. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, yeah, it's definitely I don't know. I'll be curious to see this one play out.
Same.
All right, should we get into it? Let's start to go.
Okay, we're not making a listicle, but we are referring to a list to keep us on
Oh,
track.
yes. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm
Just so
looking
everyone
at that.
knows. Yeah. No, I am too. I've pulled it
Just in
up.
case I know the light change when you're in an interview and you're trying to do something, I realize the light changes on my face, right? Because like now I'm looking at something and I'm like, oh, I gotta watch that. Okay, but
Yes,
I do have the
Rhinestoners. We are
list.
both referencing a Google Doc. We do prepare for this podcast. I know it doesn't seem like it, but there is thought that goes into it.
Thank you. All right, let's do it. I'll let you lead us, Coley.
Yeah, okay. I figured since we probably talk about this the most, let's start with top TV shows, right? Because I think we both are, I know me in particular, am like insanely television obsessed.
I
Um,
love it. Let's do it. Let's jump in.
okay.
You want to go first?
So let's see. I have four. Okay. So first up, Landman. This
Oh
is a
my God.
recent one.
Okay.
I am loving this show.
Mhm.
I only recently started watching it. So they are on season two.
Yep.
And I did not watch season one when it aired. It was already like available to watch. I also am not sure why I started watching it. I feel like maybe I was just seeing the promos on Apple TV, but Billy Bob Thornton, Demi Moore, John Hamm, Ali Larter.
Oh,
She is who I'm watching the show for,
yeah.
definitely.
Yes.
Her relationship with Billy Bob is very fun to watch. So, like, their marriage is very interesting. But her character, I think there's so much buzz around it right now because she's just, I think, sort of like a spirit animal for women right now in a lot of ways. Like, her character is just so authentically herself.
Mhm.
Um, and just sort of like living in a very joyful way, I would say. And I think it just makes it very unique. You know, it's interesting when you think about too, like Taylor Sheridan's female characters.
Yeah.
Because obviously I was obsessed with Beth, right? Oh wow, it's
Yeah.
been a really long time since I've watched Yellowstone.
That.
And if you like juxtapose, like there is some similarities, right? Like Beth was also very unapologetic, but I don't know if I would necessarily say she was joyful, right? Like I would say she was more of a hard character. Ali
Okay.
Larter's character on Landman is just she's just so free, and that has been really, really enjoyable to watch. I also think that I like this better than Yellowstone, which I was really into Yellowstone when it was airing.
Okay.
There's something just like I don't know, like Yellowstone was very dark overall, I would say,
Lot of death, lot of murder
and
in
often very
Yellowstone.
violent. Yes.
Yeah.
There
Yes.
is violence in this, but I think because it's focused more on the oil industry, like the violence tends to be there is some just like cruel kind of like criminal type violence, but a lot of like the violent or sort of like gory things that happen are actually just more of a nature of like what it takes to work in the oil industry.
Right.
Right? It's like accidents that happen on the job or the oil like it blows up, right? Things like that. And there's something I think that's more palatable about that in a certain way than like watching. And also it's more believable because these are real things that happen. Sometimes
Right.
on Landman, you're like, okay, is that realistic that you guys went and shot up all those people and then swept it under I mean, let's be real. It was just more like fantastical in that way. So,
Yeah.
I think yeah, if you enjoy Taylor Sheridan, you'll like this. But I think really the reason this show is seeing so much success is just the cast of characters. Like, how do you have that many great actors in one TV show? And the other thing I wanted to mention that has been just really fun getting to know more about the show, they've been doing their press tour for season 2. So you're getting all these like little interviews and little insights into different things. And so I saw one where Billy Bob and Demi Moore were talking about how long they've known each other because Billy Bob and Bruce Willis are really good friends. And he was saying how Demi used to bring the girls onto set of films that him and Bruce Willis were working on together. So they've actually known each other a really long time. And guess what one of those sets was? Danae and my favorite movie growing
Oh,
up,
you say it, girl.
Bandits,
Oh,
which if Rhinestoners, if you have not seen this movie, go watch this movie. Danae and I
immediately.
probably watched this like over 20 times growing up.
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton, Bruce Willis, the iconic duo, and Kate Blanchett with that
Oh,
beautiful red hair.
in that red hair that made me literally dye my hair red, by the way.
Red.
Like a whole red era in my life because of that movie. Just
So
never.
good. So I think that's part of it too. And I even then read like Demi Moore and Ali Larter are neighbors in Idaho.
Oh,
Um,
how
Demi's been
fun.
living there for 20 years. Ali Larter moved there during COVID, and now they like are friends and hang out. So I think it's just been really cool to see that there's all these like different connections. The daughter on the show is dating Glenn Powell right now, so
And
that's been
don't they
giving
look
it.
good together?
They
I
look
saw
so
them
good
at the gas
together.
station. Yum. Good for
She's
both of
also
them.
another one of my favorite characters on the show. She's like playing like a 17, 18-year-old, and they make her kind of, like flighty and whatever, but it's also very grounded because even though she's a little bit of that like valley girl, like airhead type, she's very emotional. There's some very like great scenes where you could just see how much she loves Billy Bob, like her dad. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I'm really, really enjoying Landman. That's
I
that's
love it.
probably I would say my recent obsession. What else? Chief of War.
Never
I
even
think
heard of it.
it's not the case anymore, but do you remember that for a while my celebrity crush was Jason Momoa?
Of course. I
Yeah,
mean,
because we watched him on
we
that,
all had
like,
a moment.
what was that like a surf show that we watched him on growing up? Do you remember that? That was how we got introduced to him. He was on, it was kind of like a Baywatch vibe.
And he was young. Oh my God. Hold on, you guys. I'm gonna have to look it up. I have.
Anyway, so that was
You
when
talk.
I became obsessed with Jason Momoa a long, long time ago. So I feel like for the most part, anything he's in, I'm gonna watch. Chief of War was on Apple TV. It is
Baywatch Hawaii. Baywatch Hawaii.
Baywatch Hawaii. Okay, it was so good.
Oh my God. And he was so young and sexy. Okay, go on.
Well, so he is still very much playing, I guess, in the Hawaiian universe because that is what Chief of War is about. It basically
Oh.
is kind of set like right when Hawaii started to be colonized or when people first started to discover that Hawaii even existed. It focuses mostly on the warring clans. So, between Hawaii, Maui, Oahu, Kauai. So that's
Oh.
fascinating because you actually see the differences in the clans in terms of like what they wore, what they, believed in, things like
Mm.
that. So it's a little
Mm.
bit, it's both about kind of like the battle with each other and then also what happens when the white man starts to basically show up. Most of it is in Hawaiian, which I just found fascinating and it's
Love it.
really cool to listen to. Um, Highly recommend. There's
I
also
love that.
just like a lot of men running around with their booties out, and Jason Momoa's is not bad to look at.
You know
So
what? Maybe that's with heated rivalry. Maybe that's the tea for 2025 is like, give us more male posterior. Thank
yeah,
you. Thank
that's
you. The
literally all the
women,
women want to see.
we have been bearing the brunt of getting naked on screen. Let's let the men take a ride. Go
A
on.
100%. I know neither one of us has seen it yet, but apparently, have you seen that in Marty Supreme? There's a scene with your Timmy who has his ass out and his ass is getting slapped like 50 times.
Yes, give it to me. Oh my goodness.
But I
Does
saw that he apparently denied the butt double because he was like, I don't want someone else's ass to be immortalized.
That's so Timmy. That's so Timmy. I
Which
don't
is
know
like,
him, but I know him.
it's totally fair. Yeah. So if you're looking for ass, Chief of War, very much the opposite. There is no ass that you want to see in this show. Task on HBO.
Oh, okay.
Um, featuring Mark Ruffalo, which I've always liked him. It's
Always.
really interesting watching him at this stage in his career because obviously he's aged, right? So he has like this salt and pepper hair in the show. But he basically plays the leader of an FBI task force that is trying to uncover, he's basically getting in the middle of like some biker gang stuff. And I don't want to say too
Okay.
much more. It is riveting. I watched it as it was airing. I just felt like this year I was really lacking in sort of the, oh, what is that show that was on HBO for a while that like
True
Matthew
Detective.
McConaughey? Yes. There has not been anything for me that has like
I love
filled
that.
that true detective void in
Yeah.
a very long time. And
Yeah.
Task for me was that. And some of the supporting characters are just great actors. I was completely hooked. Every week was like, how is this going to end? Highly, highly, highly recommend.
I love
And
that.
then I'm rounding it out with yet another one featuring John Hamm because I'm obsessed with John Hamm. I always have been. He is another huge
Yes.
Bravo fan. I
Yes.
love John Hamm's
I
Bravo.
love that about him too. John Hamm will absolutely mark my words and we'll check in next week, be making an appearance with Anderson and Andy tonight. I'm
Oh, yeah.
calling.
I think you
I'll be
could be right
there.
about that.
Yep.
He, in addition to appearing in Landman, he was leading a new show this year that I actually don't think got that much buzz, but it's called Your Friends and Neighbors. I think because I've lived in New York for so long, that played a huge part in why I liked this show so much. He essentially plays an investment banker who loses his job, and instead of, he basically gets divorced, loses his job, all kind of at the same time he's spiraling. And instead of, trying to get back into the corporate world, he decides to start stealing from his neighbors. And I think it's set in
Okay.
like a
Let's take
fictional,
notes.
yeah, it's like set in a fictional Connecticut town. So it's fascinating. It is very like much an examination of New York wealth and how careless people are, how easy it is to take advantage of the rich. It's also just really fun watching him. I I think I'm thinking about Mad Men and that like his character was sort of a bad guy sometimes, but this is like a different type of bad guy. It's
Yeah.
interesting, and also Amanda Peet plays his ex-wife, and
Oh.
I just want to say she is a case study for aging gracefully. Like, we are watching so many of these actresses that you and I grew up with right now, and it is so clear that they have had so much plastic surgery, and we will never know what they would have looked like if they had just left their face alone. Watching Amanda Peet show up as like a mid 40s, early whatever she is now, and just have her face, and
Yeah.
she's still beautiful, but I
Yeah.
mean, not to be mean, she's aged, right? Like, that's what happens. It just was very refreshing to watch. And it's probably one of the
Love
only
that.
shows that I've seen this year where there is sort of a middle-aged actress. Because to go back to Landman, Demi Moore is not acting with her original face. And while I love Ali Larter, I don't think she is either. So shout out to Amanda Peet for either having no work done or I guess just like really, really great work.
Skillful work done.
Skillful work. But yes, for your friends and neighbors to kind of scratch that gossipy New York type of itch. But okay, let's get into
Okay,
your.
wait. You know what I sincerely love about each one of those? Well, with the Landman I had heard of, obviously, because I get fed so many TikTok clips of Landman. I don't know if that happens to you. Maybe I watched one and it kept on coming, but
Maybe. I feel like
I've
they've been doing a bigger marketing push for the second season.
perhaps, and I'm going to shut my window to Rhinestoners just so that if any sound from the outside is coming in, there's less sound coming in. But what I love about each of those is that I've never heard of them. It gives me something to get into with my husband because I do think Task, for example, is something that I could see him getting into. So
He
I'm
would love Landman. He would love Task. I think he would love Your Friends and Neighbors too, because I think it's some of the like class and wealth dynamics that you and I talk about a lot.
right.
So I
How much
agree.
for that? That's
So, well, then before you get into yours, is he watching the recommendations that you're about to give us for TV? Or are
one
these
of
your own
them.
personal shows? Okay,
One
good.
of them.
Let's hear them.
One of them. Um, well, yeah, he's not watching Heated Rivalry with me.
No?
This is Heated Rivalry, everyone knows, but let's just go through it one more again. So this came out of Crave, out of Canada, right? So it was a really kind of like small little indie hit, erotic fantasy. It stars these two newcomers, Connor Story and Hudson Williams. Both of them are incredible. And I was trying to think about what could I say about this show that hasn't already been said. And this is what I'll say probably has been said somewhere, but I haven't heard it, which is why is this so popular, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, there are books, so there's built-in fan base that this is based off of
Yep.
the IP of the literature. But I think as someone who has watched a lot of LGBTQ plus programming in my life, I watched the original L Word, the new L Word, Queer as Folk, Vita. I mean, I have really, I love stories about this type of love because you just don't
Yeah.
get a lot of stories about that. So it's to me a world I get to peek into and is really interesting and lovely. But with all of those shows that I mentioned, they're tough. Like I would
Yeah.
say the joyous moments come few and far in between. Maybe every like third episode, there's a lot of like death. There's, as queer as folk, like a lot of covering of like HIV, right? Because that was focused more on men, like in the early aughts. So like late
Yeah.
90s and early aughts. And so they're more dramatic and they're a tougher watch. And I think even if we think about like Brokeback Mountain, right? That's just a tragic tale of two
Oh,
men.
totally.
And so these are sometimes the stories that we get. That is not Heated Rivalry, right? Like this show is literally telling you the story of two guys who go from hooking up to falling in love. And there is
Yeah.
no scary moment. There is no, oh my God, right? Like it's just about them loving each other and in the end loving each other well. And having really hot, like intimate sex throughout all of that, that I think is not gratuitous. Like it really does play into because by the end, not I'm going to spoil it because if you haven't watched Heated Rivalry yet, like I don't know what you're doing, but by the end you can see that the sex has changed, right? Like even in the way that these two men are acting, it starts as a hookup and it ends in making love and being able to actually portray that through acting, I think really goes to the strength of Connor and Hudson. I'd be really interested to see if they're not in an Emmy race. Like I would be shocked.
Really?
I know that that
I'm
sounds
seeing things
crazy.
that people are like, this whole show was produced and written by AI. Are you sure?
Yeah, and it's not because of the writing. It's not because, oh my God, the dialogue is so good and the things that they're saying to each other are so deep. It's not that. Like it is the touches, the looks, the
Yeah.
lust, the eyes, the tension that they're bringing. It's like it's a whole physical acting thing
Hmm.
that almost is more like what I would imagine like a play to be right because you have to be into like the physicality of the people on stage since plays are so bare and
Yeah.
this show had such a low budget right because it's this like little Canadian Crave Media whatever so it is bare in some ways so really you have to just rely on the tension that these two people are bringing to the screen so I can't say enough good things it's 6 episodes so you'll fly
Which is
through
so,
it
so short. I know it's crazy,
so
only six
short.
episodes.
And I think we're going to get a season two. There is a book, right? Season two will cover them basically like getting married and going off into the sunset, which again, is just like so
Oh, okay.
lovely to know that like this is all going to have pretty much a happy ending.
Ending.
even though they go through some struggles in the second book. So highly recommend that. And then the other one, so okay, the challenge. Okay, so the challenge is a show again, like everyone should know probably. I guess I'm not talking about anything new here. It's been on for almost 20 years. It started as the Real World Road Rules Challenge, right? So this was an
Which you used to
idea.
be obsessed with. Well, I mean,
Obsessed.
we both used to watch it a lot, but
We
I think you kept
did.
watching longer than I did, probably.
Right. And it goes back to like that early idea of we have something that's really working reality TV wise. We have these people that are people love. How can we get them back on screen to capitalize on that, right? Like we
Yeah.
can't just because these were bringing characters from the real world and the road rules, which was two
Yeah.
different
Also,
shows.
rest in peace, MTV, which officially ended yesterday. MTV no longer exists.
Which is like apropos to why because I have a continuation on that too. So yeah, it started long ago, and almost from the original, there were some players like Mark, for example, who were on this show on the first season of Road Rules Challenge before it even became the challenge, right?
Yeah.
And so recently he was back for Vets versus New Threats. This is a 45-year-old man, right, who is out here competing against 20-year-olds and absolutely dominating. And so it's just really fun as someone who is my age to be able to have access to a show where it's almost like akin to what I think it would have been like to watch maybe like a All My Children, right?
Mm.
Or a daily soap where it's like
Or you're
you,
like growing up with the people on the
yes,
show. Totally.
you're growing up with them. They're coming back stronger every time. I mean, there are some women in this last iteration of the challenge. Nani, for example. She's a 38-year-old woman standing at the top of a mountain, barely breaking a sweat. And there's 20-year-olds like calling the paramedics down the mountain, right? So it's
Yeah.
just a really and it's something that it was on MTV. It's had a couple of seasons on CBS where they joined in some people from Survivor. It was a really good season. I liked it. So they'll have it again, I think, on CBS. That I believe the rights are still up for grabs on the challenge, so we'll see. But it's really easy to get into. It's a quick watch, and this is, I know, maybe not like
I
the
haven't watched
to
this in
say.
years. I'm gonna have to go back and look at it.
It's a fun thing to watch with a boy. You know, if you do have a man in your life, it's easy to watch it with them because the great part about the challenge is that they do the challenge, whatever, and then they go home, they get dressed, and then they go out to the club and they fight. So you do get the best of
Love
both
that.
worlds. It is still
Love
that
that.
element of the real world where it's like, we're going to fight about the fact that you took care of my kid back in Austin and now we're on this show and you're acting different, right? So I love it. Top movies. I don't have one, so you take us away and I'll talk about why I don't.
So I am definitely more into TV shows, but I definitely do still enjoy movies, and there's a handful of movies that I think I saw in the theater this year. I think two out of the three actually I saw in the theater. My first one, I think technically did come out in 2024, but it was right at
Okay.
the very end, so I saw it in January. Nosferatu, which was
Mm.
sort of a reimagining of the Dracula story. It starred Bill Skarsgård, Nicholas Hoult, William Dafoe, and then Lily Rose Depp, who I love. I really, really enjoyed this because for me, when it comes to horror films, I really struggle. I don't really like gore or torture porn or things
Same.
like that. But I don't mind being scared. That is sort of the aspect of horror films I enjoy. And so what was great about this was it didn't have any of those, super gory, elements, but it was still scary and it kept you on the edge of your seat the whole
Yeah.
time. It was like it definitely was one of those ones where like you were happy you saw it in the theater.
Mhm.
Um, Mostly what I want to call out about it though is like I just want to see Lily Rose Depp in more things. I feel like her starting out in industry did not help her because that show was such a disaster. And I feel like sometimes I see things where it's like, oh, like she's not a good actress, Nepo baby. No, I think she's an incredible actress. I don't want to give too much away, but there's a pretty crazy scene in the end of Nosferatu. And I actually saw the casting video that she submitted where she was acting out this scene. And it's incredible. You can
Incredible.
tell that she worked very hard on how she was going to show up physically and with her voice and everything for sort of the cliff or the ending of the movie. So more Lily Rose Depp, please.
Or and just as a little, this did not come out this year, but The King, which was I believe was a Netflix movie with Timothy Chalamet. Um, Lily Rose Depp was in like the last 15 minutes of that, and I
Oh,
swear stole the freaking show. Like the 5 minutes or 15 minutes she was on screen made that whole movie to me. I think she's so incredibly powerful. I love the fact that she speaks French fluently, and so she can take on accent work really good.
yes. I
So
do
I
like that
think,
about her too.
yeah, I think there's a lot that can be done with her. I think it's unfortunate that The Idol was basically just sex, like her body on screen.
Oh, you're right. I said Industry. Industry is my show I actually like. It's The Idol.
And she was with that guy who I really like. He was from The
Kit
Social
Harington.
Network,
Oh, yes. I
right?
actually should have mentioned Industry for my TV shows, but I don't remember if there was a season this year or if it came out last year.
I still get fed TikTok clips of Industry all the
Oh,
time.
same. I
It's
can't wait. This next
very
season
big.
looks
Yeah,
absolutely
people love
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're right. The Idol. She was in The Idol. I still that was such a. Did you watch The Idol?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to because I love The Weekend. I love Abel,
Yeah.
you
It
know?
was
So I
so
was
that was such a
excited. I was like, oh my God, two lead. And I actually do think he can act. I think it's just he needs a role. Like I do think he could be an incredible like villain in a
Oh yeah.
movie. He just needs better direction than he
It
got on.
was definitely weird. Okay, this next one I also saw in the theater and I highly recommend you and the hubby watch this if you haven't seen it.
Black?
Black Bag.
Never heard of it.
It starred Kate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender playing a married couple who are both top intelligence
Cool.
agents, and basically, I'm not going to give too much away. Something sort of happens where he starts to suspect her of potentially being, not above board, and it's sort of an examination of both, how their job and their marriage sort of coexist together. Um, Trust, things like that. But it just was like very much an edge of your seat thriller. It was just a fun watch where you felt like you were like speeding through this movie, but in the best way possible.
I
And
love that.
Kate Blanchett can just do no wrong.
No, she's the goat. Like literally, Tar is not a movie I can rewatch a bunch, but when you actually sit down to watch it, it's like, holy, this woman is carrying like 2.5 hours of cinematic just
Just
masterpiece. It's
just
crazy.
incredible.
And then
She's
she can do things like Ocean's 8. It's like, woo, that pendulum really swings.
Oh yeah, she's
I love
got,
her
I
so
mean,
much.
what a career. My
Yeah.
last one I actually just recently watched because I think it just came out. I think it's actually still in theaters. And you have to watch it as someone who I know loves romantic movies. Eternity, which
Looking it
stars
up.
Elizabeth Olsen, love her.
Yes.
Miles
Okay.
Teller, love him. I've always loved Miles Teller. I don't care if he has no range, it doesn't matter to me. I
Love
think he's
Miles
fun
Teller.
on screen. And then Callum Turner, who is engaged to Dua Lipa.
Dua. Hmm.
Um, what a joy. Very quickly, the premise, and again, like I almost don't want to give too much away because I did not know that much about it until I started watching it, and I feel like there is something about the surprise, but by this point, I'm sure the marketing is starting to reveal it all. It
Hmm.
basically is sort of creating this idea of the afterlife, right? And you kind of like show up and you have to pick a path. And Elizabeth Olsen's character has to basically decide if she's going to take that eternity path with her first husband, Callum
Hmm.
Turner, or her second husband, Miles Teller.
Hmm.
And it's just
Hmm.
fascinating, a very, very different concept. It was so cool to kind of think about the afterlife in that way and like wouldn't that be fun if that was how it really was? So like as an
What?
example, you can choose to go to like mountain land or beach
Okay.
land, like but there's all these different, when they arrive, it looks like a convention center with different booths. You can
Okay.
you can go to Paris but without the racism. Like literally, these are the things, right? So it's like very niche places.
What? I love it.
So part of
Okay.
it is that choice, but then the movie centers around you can only, walk that path with someone else. And just think, Elizabeth Olsen's a lot of fun to watch.
What do you
She
think
does a
of
great job in
Callum?
these types of role. Hmm?
What do you think of Callum as an actor? I haven't seen him in anything, I don't think.
Here's what I would say, because it's been a while since I've seen him in something too. Fine, but there's nothing about him in this role where you're like, oh, I'm gonna remember
Oh
this
my
guy.
God.
That makes
Okay.
sense, right? Like he wasn't bad and he kind of delivered exactly what you would want. But there's nothing where you're like, oh wow. Like to me, Elizabeth Olsen kind of carries the film.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
which makes sense. I mean,
Rhinestoners, I think that would probably be my biggest recommendation, just because, again, like the romance category so rarely is getting, shaken up or having some of these newer, like type concepts applied. So, highly, highly recommend.
yeah, it's so funny because it's like we were all getting fed this idea that the materialist was going to come and save rom-coms. And then they literally put a man getting a leg extension surgery in that movie.
I know.
Wait, what are we actually talking about anymore?
You're like, what's happening?
I don't remember this in Runaway Bride. Like, I can't remember Richard Gere going under the knife for a leg extension surgery as part of
No,
the plot line.
not
What?
it. Not it. And that's the thing. I
Um,
feel like everything that happens in Eternity is just more of like normal
it's
stuff.
just more fun and like something that you maybe have thought about before, right?
And it is funny too. Everyone kind of gets like a afterlife guide, and so some of the
Funny.
folks playing those roles are pretty hysterical. But
That's really funny. That
um,
reminds me a little bit of The Good Place, but that is obviously not a 2025 recommendation.
yeah, The Good Place.
Um,
So no movies for you. I know movies are tough. You're probably just watching a lot of kid movies these days, huh?
you know, that's all I'm doing. I'm watching kids' movies. Zootopia 2 came out. I haven't even seen it.
Yeah.
I'm literally trying to think of any movie that I saw that
Well,
came
look, let's
out.
let's move to something I know you're more passionate about. Let's hear your favorite music this year.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
Rhinestoners, we are definitely a family that is always sending each other songs. I think like we send each other songs, we send songs to mom. We are a sending song family. And then
Yes.
the thing that we really love to do is because both Danae and I are guilty of this, we love to not see each other's songs and then months later send the same song as if we are the first ones to send the song when really the other person had sent it months later. And then we love to remind that person that I or you actually discovered the song first. That's our favorite thing to do. That's the great thing about text chains, right? Is like you have the receipt. It's like, oh my God, this is so good. Yeah, I sent that 2 months ago.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we like to do to each other too, is get really kind of competitive over who's finding them. Like, okay, maybe not outwardly, but inwardly competitive about music.
I would say we hold pride for our finds. That's
Yes,
how I would.
I like to share my taste. Okay, Rhinestoners, this is nothing that you haven't heard me talk about before, but actually, you know what's so funny? If anyone listens to or reads the New York Times or listens to podcasts with John Caramonica and Joe Coscarelli, which is one of my favorite podcasts. Um, uh, John Caramonica came out with his top. He's like the main music critic for the.
Editor, or yeah.
So, and then Joe is like a pop culture writer. And so he came out with his list. He's the man at New York Times, which is tasked to round up. And so it was the
Fun
top
job.
10. But oh my God, right? Like you should see on his Instagram when he really, I mean, it's just absolute vitriol on his comments, just people being like, go home, old man. But one of his top song was Caramel by Sleep Token. So you know that I personally felt incredibly vindicated. Not vindicated, I guess, just like, what's the
Yes,
word?
you've been pushing that.
I have been
Yeah.
talking, and to have the New York Times come out and say, this is it. This is the best that we have for 2025. Y'all, I couldn't agree more. The album is even in Arcadia So just a little bit about Sleep Token. I don't know a ton about them, so I'll go off. They're from the general area in Europe. I don't know which country. I'm sorry, I should,
The
but
general area in Europe.
I think maybe England.
Okay.
Shoot, I mean, I'll look it up. I'll look
You
it up.
you keep talking. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, hold on. They are
No, you're
from
right. They're an
English.
English rock band
Okay, there you
formed
go.
in London.
England.
There we go.
Okay, it's formed in 2016. So the fun
General
part
Europe
about
area.
them is like no one knows who they are, right? No one knows who they are. They follow in that heavy metal vein of obscuring. It's Kiss, right? I mean, they've
Yeah.
been doing this forever. Okay, so they obscure their faces and stuff. And what the main song that was really popular this year, Caramel, speaks to is this idea that obviously fans were not going to allow that, and they have dug in to figure out who Vessel, the main guy, the lead singer of this band is, and they figured that out, and they figured out where he lives and all of this stuff, right? So
Yeah.
and it's basically just like, darn, couldn't I have one thing for myself kind of thing. But in general, the album is like a really great mix of what is heavy metal with
Yeah.
these like kind of like Afro beats or hip hop beats or R&B beats and like bridges, and sometimes he just sings, and some songs are literally just ballads, and it's just really interesting because so much, even though we love Sabrina and we love Chapel, and we maybe not Chapel, I won't put Chapel in that, but like Haiti, Sabrina, some Beyonce songs, I'm sorry, certainly Taylor Swift, they can sound similar. If you don't have an ear for music, some people can even say like, is that Taylor or is that Sabrina, which one is that? And there's no
Yeah.
mistaking that this is Sleep Token. It's just a completely different sound.
I
uh
think fine, twist my arm. I'll finally like listen more to them. I've
Listen
listened,
to like
yeah,
one or
yeah.
two.
I think I definitely have seen their name more and more since you've sent it to me.
Thank you. And then the other one that I would say, and this is, um, uh, Ella Langley, who had a huge song in 2024, um, with that guy Riley. What was her big song? Ella Langley breakout hit with Riley Green. You look like you love me. Okay, that song. Um, that was 2024, came out this year with a new single off of her, I think, upcoming album, if it hasn't already gotten released, called Shoes in Texas. I I've always liked country music. Like I've
Same.
never been
Well, we grew
one of
up on it. I mean, yeah, we were
yeah.
raised on country music.
And country like derivative music too, like just a little left center of country as
Like a
well.
Casey Musgraves type. Yeah.
Thank you. Right. And I think that Ella is definitely more like a up and down, straight up country artist. She has a real twang to her. And I just love her look. I love her sound. I loved You Look Like You Love Me. And I'm really just excited to have like another country pop girly on the scene telling stories, because Lainey Wilson is another one that has come out recently. The first song I ever heard from her that I really loved was Heart Like a Truck. If you haven't listened to
Mm.
that, listen to that song. It's like an
Yeah,
anthem
I
for
like
all
Lainey Wilson.
women out there, I think, because it explains a lot. And so her and Ella give me the same vibes, and they come to my area a lot. And I actually feel like I might see one of them in concert. I could see myself actually wanting to do that one day. So I'm excited.
I was just getting ready to say that in 2026, I'm like really wanting to go to a country concert. Like, I
Same,
just feel like I've never done that, or if I have, I'm not
same.
remembering, and I just think it would be really fun. Let's plan to do that. You know what we really should do? We should go to Stagecoach.
That's what we should do. I bet you
Because
both of them
I
would be
definitely
there.
think I've probably aged out of Coachella, but Stagecoach, I feel like I could handle.
Oh my God, and I bet you both of them would be there. To be quite honest with you,
Oh,
they would
I'm
have to
sure.
be. There's just
Oh,
not
I'm
that
sure.
many country stars that they wouldn't.
100%. I think maybe we should, yeah. Let's look into that.
We could cover it on the podcast.
That could be really fun.
That could be really fun.
Um,
All right, what about you?
I have actually just decided in this moment that I'm really only going to talk about one because I think probably she, at least for me, was more top of mind in 2025, and that is Addison Rae. Um, I love a pop girly. I think the reason too that I've been proud of myself with discovering is I was listening to Diet Pepsi like way before everyone else
You
was.
were. You were.
I think I posted that song like last year or something like
You
that.
sent that to me as soon as it came
Long, long time ago before the gays found out about it. Um,
and claimed it as mother.
yes, exactly. Just because it cracks me up. I'm like, hey. Um, it's so fascinating because I do think that she is going to have a very interesting career if she continues to be successful. Like, I don't think anyone is gonna like say, oh my God, like she's such an amazing singer or
Hmm.
she has such stage quality. I mean, like I've seen some of her live performances. To be honest, I'm not sure I would go see her live. Sorry, Addison.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure it matters. Like, I'm not really sure that's what we need her for. I think what I'm enjoying is I feel like she obviously grew up with some of the same influences that you and I had in terms of pop music and even the aesthetics of pop music. And I feel like what she's doing in her music videos is just fun and
Yeah.
different and giving us some of those, like, in the way that like Britney Spears would give us moments in her music videos that people wanted to recreate or looks that they wanted to recreate. Um, Another thing I really like about her too, and I saw someone else say this, so I cannot take comment for it, and I cannot take credit for it, but a lot of her videos are very much shot in a way where it is obvious that she is shooting for the female gaze rather than the male gaze. And it's not to say that there isn't still like sex appeal coming across or she's not like showing her body. She is. But when I saw that, I knew like instantly what that person was getting at because there is just like, it's not as overt and it's more about her showing up as like comfortable in her own body. And so even some of the more like sexual things that she does in her music videos, like it just, again, it doesn't feel like it's like in the name of male attention seeking. It feels like
Right.
it's more because she's just trying to express herself and express like the point of the song.
Right.
Um, so for me, it's a pick both because of the music, but also because of the accompanying visuals. I feel like she is someone who definitely cares about that. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of, it's not to say that a lot of artists don't today, but I think they're not trying as hard because it doesn't matter as much as it used to, I would argue. Like people are not watching music videos. I mean, literally, we just talked about the fact that MTV is dead, right? And that used to be like one of the premier places to go watch music videos. But Diet Pepsi, love headphones on. That is really the one that I feel like is just hitting at when it came out, I feel like it was totally meeting the moment, of like we all just kind of want to check out sometimes
Yeah.
and go to an alternate place,
Yeah.
and that is helpful, especially in a year like 2025. So I am excited for Addison Rae to continue to make pop music that I want to listen to and that's going to be remixed at all the clubs that I go to. And yeah, I would say that's probably my top kind of not find because everyone's found her, but
Right.
um
But
my top six for 2025.
and I have two reactions to that. So one, if you haven't Popcast, which I just mentioned, that podcast with John and Joe, they actually had Addison on for an interview earlier this year. I think one of their best interviews of the year, actually. And she had a really great soundbite from that, which was saying like from the outside it can look like she was just doing TikTok and then she was just and she's like no,
Yeah,
like music has always been the goal,
totally.
and taste is a luxury of having time and money to do what you want to do. And so I use TikTok as a vehicle to get me to a place where I could have my own time and money so that I could have the sort of taste that I wanted so I could make things like Diet Pepsi. And I just
Yeah.
thought, I was like, wow, like people underestimate women all the time, and I surely underestimated Addison because she has a plan. She has a very clear vision. And then the second thing after that interview, John, yeah, John went to one of her live shows in New York. I think she did too earlier this year, and he echoed what you were saying too, right? Which is like she's still baking. Like you're seeing an
Yeah.
artist who is still figuring out who they are, and even Chapel. When she first came out, Chapel first coming out was not a huge jump from the Chapel that everyone saw once she went mainstream. She very much had that
She has
drag.
defined her
Yes.
totally.
And I think the interesting thing about Addison is, yeah, we're watching her define that. And that's fun. I think that's an interesting way to be, to not just be a totally boxed up product ready to sell. you
I
know?
agree. And I think to your first point about what she was saying in that interview, like that is what comes through in the visuals. Like it just feels like she has a creative team around her and they're just thinking differently
Mm.
about what a pop star is supposed to look like and what a music video for a pop star is supposed to look like. And I think that's really what it is. To me, it just feels very of the moment. Like it's fresh. Whereas like a lot of things in music right now for me are just feeling very recycled.
Well,
Right. I
because
mean,
a
this is
lot of
why
it is
like Katy Perry struggled, right? Because it wasn't like actual 2025. It was like someone's interpretation of what that's supposed to
it was
be. And
Dr. Luke's. It was Dr. Luke's
yeah,
it was him going back to that same drawing board and saying, this is the formula that's going to get you hits, and having absolutely no finger or no, we talked about Annie Leibovitz and her craft last week, right? It's like having absolutely no regard for your own craft to
yeah,
actually take the temperature of what's
of
going
what's
on.
going on. That's
Crazy.
where it's like, and
Unbelievable.
I think I am obviously not an ageist. I am forever young or want to be in my head. But that
Same.
is where I do think age starts to play a role, right? Like Addison Rae
Get
is
out
just
of touch.
younger. She's like naturally more tapped in with what's
Yeah.
happening. I doubt Katy Perry is on TikTok, if ever. Like, let's be real.
No, she
So
isn't. She's having someone else do that and then tell her what the biggest things on TikTok are. And that's, again, that's not, that's someone else's filter. So
yeah, I mean,
inauthentic. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
so, okay, I think now let's pivot
Okay.
because I felt like we would be remiss to not talk about some Bravo faves just because Rhinestoners, you know that while this is not a Bravo podcast, we do love our Bravo and we do spend quite a bit of time talking about Bravo.
It
So,
works
I
the same.
thought let's just do like a couple of our quick faves. I'll start off. I thought it would be fun. Let's reflect on our top Bravo show this year. And the reason I thought this one would be fun, as listeners know, is because more or less the Bravo shows are the same, right? That's the whole point. We know we're just going through season after season
They're
after season.
formulaic.
We did get, honorable mention since I know neither one of us is going to pick this as our fave. We did get Next Gen NYC this
And
year.
thank you, Bravo Gods, for
Yeah,
that.
which is, and I am actually, I was reluctant to watch it and then I ended up liking it. So we did get one new one. But, all of our shows are on their various seasons. I am going to have to go with The Valley
Yeah.
because again, this was one where I felt like I started watching from the beginning, and a lot of people were not into it initially. And I think
Hated it.
Bravo was a little scared, like,
Hated
oh
it.
shit, what did we do? Like, we're not sure people are gonna like this. And then that all shifted, and
Really
people got
good.
very into it. And now I would say it's probably one of the more talked about ones. But I really enjoyed this season. I felt like it was like so messy as we want it to be. But it's also just interesting watching the fallout from some of these relationships that have ended, like Brittany and Jax or Michelle and Jesse, which by the way, I just have to mention this because this just made so much sense in my mind. I saw recently that Jesse, Maurizio, and PK were hanging out. Does that not make sense though? I saw the picture and I was like, these guys would 100% hang out with each other. Like they somehow are all the same, like different versions of the same archetype, right?
Often being at like a lounge and seeing the three of them, and the thought that goes through your head is like, yeah, I want to talk to those guys. Okay.
No. I mean, Maurizio's probably the best out of the three, I would say, in terms of like,
Yes,
but still.
but
Um,
no.
I mean, yeah, if we talk about like Jesse on season two and calling his wife a whore and or his ex-wife a whore, like no,
You don't
he's
think that that's in store for you if you date him? Come
A hundred
on.
percent. You have like the roadmap. But anyways, like I cannot wait for the next season of The Valley because I
Oh,
do
me too.
think now even more with like Janet and some of the things that's happened now with Kristen Doute's life, like
Yep.
I'm just very curious to see how they're going to continue some of the storylines. Like, I think even with Kristen Doute, it's going to be interesting to see because she's just in such a happy place in her life. Like, I'm
Right.
kind of curious to know what she's going to bring. And then the big thing that I just want to say, and I know this is going to be very, very controversial, but I do think it's going to be weird next season without Jax. I know the fans are really, really excited about this because obviously he's been saying terrible, terrible things and doing very toxic, fucked up shit on the show. And I am not, approving of that behavior. I also think that sometimes he has a tendency, if he is going to be in an episode, he kind of takes it over and then it becomes about him. But But I will say every show like needs a villain, and Janet is playing that role, but I think the Valley has always been helped by the fact that there is someone on the guy's side that is also doing that. I know Jesse is terrible too, but I just feel like Jax
Hmm.
does give you sort of like that unpredictability sometimes. And again, I think Bravo ultimately has made the right decision. I mean, he's obviously started to like bully other cast members and things have gone too far. I guess what I'm saying is I wish he would have just like gotten it together
I
enough
know.
this past season to have not been written off of next season because to me, the whole reason I started watching this show was because it was the concept of these couples living out in the valley. Yes, of course, all of them are separating, but it almost makes for more interesting television to be watching each party separated now, right? And I just gotta be honest, I have no interest in watching Britney on her own. Like, I just don't care. Like,
I don't need to see Brittany dating. I
sorry,
agree.
Britney, but like, the only thing that's ever made Britney interesting
Is Jax.
Jax. So
And
that's the
Jax,
only thing I'll say. I'm nervous for next season.
and I think like the way to look at that for me is that he's willing, regardless if the vulnerability comes out as like anger and being like a dick, which it does, right? But Jax is willing to be vulnerable on camera. And it gets a little bit into what we were talking about last week, where it's like, I do think that's the problem with shows like Vanderpump Rules, trying to,
Yeah.
because it's like you are trying to take these kids that their goal is to be an actor. That's their life goal. And
Yeah.
then you're putting them on something that you're calling a reality show, and they're approaching that as an acting gig.
Yeah.
So it's coming across incredibly inauthentic because it's like, whereas Jax, that's not what it ever was, and so he, fortunately or unfortunately for us, can only be who he is,
Totally.
and it's very vulnerable and it's fun to watch. But yes, I'm sad. I don't know if it would have been possible, and it's not anyone else's fault but Jax's. But yeah, maybe I wish production could have stepped in a couple of years ago and said like, hey, let us really help you get to a better place because we want
Yeah.
to see you succeed, and like we want you to be on this network for a long time, and you are one of
Totally.
our biggest stars, so like let's. But I also think too then that puts Bravo in a situation where it's like, are they more of like a strict employer? I don't know, maybe there's like
Well,
some
no, I think it does make them complicit, and that's probably why they're not choosing to do it. But I think the last thing I would say about it is like the reason it bugs me is because I do think there is this trend of Bravo not holding on to some of the OGs, and I feel like they're walking a very fine line right now with that, in
right.
that you can continue to have new shows, you can continue to add new housewives like you have since the beginning of time. But let's not push too many of these OGs out because it just starts to make it where we as fans connect less and less. And like the one example I'll give is like it is sort of strange if you think about BravoCon that all of the old New York City OG cast is showing up and doing panels, but like when is the last time any of us have watched them? Like, and I know they've been on some of these offshoots, like whatever that they do, but like no one
Yeah,
watches those.
no,
So it is
no.
sort of weird that like Dorinda's at BravoCon, Luann's at BravoCon. It's like we haven't seen them on television in like years. And I just think like that only is going to last for so long. Like you have to introduce new viewers to the old people, otherwise they're not going to care about them, right? And the new people that Bravo is bringing in are not people, at least I think right now, that are going to have lasting Bravo careers the way a Jax or a Dorinda has had. So just
Absolutely not.
that's my message to Andy. Like, please let's just be more discerning in cutting new people and cutting the old people because
Well,
we need to go on that journey. But okay,
well, okay, no, actually, this is so good that you're saying this because this dovetails so well into
into
mine,
your pick.
which is my favorite is Summer House. Oh, I think always has been. I
Love
think
Summer House.
I'm a Summer House stan and girly over. I was there with the Workus twins, right? Like I've been there for the Carl getting the best blowjob he ever had was from a man confession. You know, I've been there through it all. And what I love about Summer House and what I loved about this season of Summer House was, to your point, it's really hard to introduce new characters
Yeah,
into these shows and to have that feel um, authentic and fun. And so we have in Jesse Solomon and in West, right? These two, well, Splissland, these two new characters that have been introduced that like are just guys. They're just like
Yeah,
guys being dudes. It's not like they're so, but the bromance that they brought to the screen, the interaction with Ciara, Wes dated Ciara in last season, and then
yeah,
this season wasn't, and their breakup was very uh hard on her. And the way that Wes, like, I'll give you one of the scenes is them pulling out every weekend. They have to, go back to the city, and so they're pulling out, and I think at one point Ciara says to Wes to, like, have a good weekend. And Wes goes to Jesse in their car and he's like, did you hear that? She talked to me. She said two words to me. I can't believe it. And Jesse's like, it's a solid win, man. It's just, and you can tell there's like real relationships there. There's real
yeah,
connection. These people actually do hang out with each other in the city. And then to go into what I was saying about it, going to your point, right? For a long time, Paige wasn't an original cast. Paige DeSorbo, that is, was not an original cast member. I think she came in maybe season 3 or 4. Don't quote me on that. Her storyline started with dating Carl, and then it started with her boyfriend, and then she ended up dating Carl the next season, and then the romance with Craig happened on screen, and she has become this really interesting Bravo OG that we
yeah.
lost this year. Not lost, she's still with us, but we lost her from the Bravo universe this year. And gosh, when that happened, I just thought huge, huge fumble by Bravo. If I was Bravo, and maybe they did, and maybe I don't know about it, but if I were Bravo, I would have gone to Paige and I would have said, first of all, we will pay you whatever you want to be paid.
Yeah,
You don't have to come to every episode. We'll do half
totally.
the season. Or I would have said, is there any way you can convince to get Hannah back, and we will give you guys a spinoff where we cover for 6
Totally. Or yeah, like
episodes,
after this next season or something.
because Paige and the everyone, I mentioned it earlier, they had sold out Madison Square Garden two nights this year, but that was the last show of quite a long city tour that they had been on previously. And so I even think like that could have been an amazing,
Totally.
what they did their own YouTube series to go along with the tour, which was called like Paige and Hannah Try It. So every city that they would go to, they would try something. They would go to, like, a snake pit and like hold a snake when they were in Louisiana. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I was just thinking, like, man, Bravo could have bought that, bought the rights
Yes.
to that, put it on TV. God, we would have watched that and numbed it up. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. So those are my two.
Well,
You
even to your point too, I would
yeah.
say, like, well, to go back to my point, but then it relates to your summer house point. Like, I do just feel like, again, sometimes I would love to understand the formula or the thinking because even with Summer House, I saw this next season we're getting a couple new cast members again, and for me, I'm just like, what happened to Lexi and Emerald? Like, I just and I look, I understand that now it's
Yeah.
awkward between Jesse and Lexi, so maybe that's all, but at the same time, like Lexi was across a lot of storylines last season.
The
So
main
to
storyline.
just wipe her off, and even to Emerald's credit, like I feel like they both came in and both tried really hard to insert themselves. The fact that now we're just like, oh, goodbye, and we've moved on to like, I don't care. I think that is what I'm nervous about with the new Summer House season is like, it's not just that Paige is gone. Now we're gonna have a bunch of newbies that like I doubt I'm gonna care about, you know? I love Jesse and Wes, like you said. I just don't think that they are the ones that are capable of carrying things. I think it's always been the dynamic between the women. So for me, I'm just a little annoyed that I had to watch a whole season of them trying to work Lexi into the dynamic just for her to be worked back out again. And now we're gonna have to watch
Agreed.
like some new women. So I
I
don't
think
know. That's just
I
my
think
one
that
gripe.
I think, sorry, and not to just be like giving free ideas here. I think Jesse and West had enough steam coming off of the seasons that they had where you probably honestly could have done a spinoff with those two. It could have been
Yeah.
around dating. It could have been around like some sort of kind of like not a game show, right? But something where it's like we're in New York, we're both single, we're both dating, and this is a peek into what's that's like as a 35-year-old man, you
No,
know?
I got it. I know what they need to do because I heard that they are filming some sort of like in New York, this is what their lives are like. They need to do a simple life.
Oh my God,
They
that would be
need to
good.
do something where
That would be
it
so
doesn't have
good.
to be exactly like Simple Life, but
Tracking.
an on the road type of like it's
Man.
yeah, just something where they travel or even like, Queer Eye for the Straight, like something where every episode they are in like a new place. That's what I think they need to do with Jesse and Wes. Andy,
Wait, that would be
you can
so good.
you can pay me when you take this idea and create the show around it, but those two, that would be incredible. Plunk them
Buddy
down. They already
comedy.
travel all the time. I don't know together, but I Jesse's all over the world all the time.
Wait,
So,
that's such a good, because you could do like my mind is going to like put him in the deep sea. You know what I
yes.
mean? Like make him do right, like make him wrestle an alligator. Like I don't know, like there's so it's so ripe with stuff that
And
like
then
you could
have like
just
Sierra show up for one of the episodes, have
correct.
Amanda show up for one of the episodes, have like,
Like you could do like this might be too dangerous, but like I just flashed on this the Bella Hadid of it all. Like you could have them, learn how to like do a horse competition from like a cowboy, and then you have
exactly.
Ciara and all the girls come and they're all like fitted out and they're
Ranch week.
cowboy. Yeah,
You
because
could do
Wes
ranch
loves
week. I
cowboy.
would love to see them working at a ski lift.
That would be so good.
That's the show that needs to be in development. I'm calling it right now. Rhinestoners, we'll put this out as a clip on TikTok, and we're gonna need your help promoting this up so that Andy
Well,
Cohen
okay, and you
can
know what I
hear my
love about
amazing
that?
idea.
The last part about that, and just to is that also it's for guest stars, right? Like you could bring Kyle on, and what that makes me think of was that like earlier this summer, Kyle came to West's farm because he
Yeah.
does, I think he like whatever. And Wes posted on his TikTok a video of like Kyle and his dad both on horses, like in the distance, and he was like, just two old men talking about the war. And it's like, yep. Because Kyle,
Hey, Erica and Jesse made out apparently. You could bring Erica on. Well, okay, so I think yours is a great segue actually into then what is your favorite Bravo celeb of the year?
I mean,
I think I can guess.
yeah, I think Paige.
Yeah. You've always loved Paige. I
Here's the
don't
thing.
not like Paige. I just don't listen to the Giggly Squad.
Paige, Paige, what I love about Paige, and to like say it succinctly, is I really do feel like she is very unapologetic about
Yeah,
who she is.
totally.
And, even on the Summer House, like she doesn't typically go to 10, but it's also really fun to see her go to 10 because the Jersey comes out in her and that accent comes out of freaking nowhere. And she just is like, "Da, da, 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 da." And it's like,
Totally.
whoa, where did that page come from? So I'm sad that we're not going to be able to see that side of her anymore. I think the one thing I will say is that if you do follow her through Giggly Squad and know like her life, like there is just this thing that she is very, to use that word vulnerable again, like froze her eggs this year, right? And talked a lot about that. And then really like did talk about the fact that yeah, like at 32, 33, when she was so close to having it all,
Yeah.
said, I'm good. I'm not gonna have
Yeah.
it all if it's not with the person that I want it to be. And she talks very candidly about that. And I do think if you're like a young, maybe listener of hers, which I do think Giggly Squad tends to skew like 25 to 35,
Oh, yeah, I
I
bet.
do think it's important for women of that age to hear that. Of just like, yeah, man, like real love is out there.
Yeah. I think for me,
Real love is real.
what Paige represents for me and why I think like I will definitely mess around Summer House is like and it may be less the case with Bravo housewives because so many of them are not so many, but they're married. Um there's a lot, unfortunately, to say, a lot of women in the Bravo universe that are still very much like pick me girls. And I think we're seeing this play out even like on Southern Charm right
Southern
now with like
charm.
Sally and Charlie. Like these are like they just are. They give Sally in particular gives like huge pick me vibes. I think that was the incredible thing about Paige is she is sort of just the antithesis of that and always has been. And that is why I think she did so well on the show because women relate to that, right? And like it's just refreshing to see somebody who is not always centering men, I think, in that way, or at least it's not the most important thing while she's filming like that. And of course, like she had a boyfriend at the time and all of that. But it is pick me is more just than trying to get a man, in my opinion. It's like an energy that you put off. And I think it extends beyond just wanting a man. Like to me, pick me energy is just looking kind of desperate in a lot of aspects of life. And I think with Paige, she was always so sure of herself and just never really giving that vibe off. And I think that is going to be because I'll be honest, like I think even Amanda gives off pick me vibes.
The thing that I really appreciate, right, is I think when it comes to, you just mentioned Amanda, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to what happened with Craig, I think a lot of people wanted to villainize one of them. You know,
Mhm.
that was the
Human nature.
human nature to do that. I think what was so interesting about that on both sides was what we were really seeing for not the first time, but it doesn't happen a lot, was two people being incredibly thoughtful about their future. And Paige taking the relationship that she had with Craig incredibly seriously and thinking to herself, hey, listen, hold on. I'm about to waste this man's life.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do because I know I don't love him in the way that I need to.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna and listen, that's what Amanda did, right? Like Amanda just went down the aisle with someone who, I think Kyle is, I don't know their relationship, but from what we are being told, right, their relationship has a lot of issues. He's out a lot. She says he's out a lot, right? This is an issue that has not changed now that they've
Yeah.
gotten married. Okay. I'm talking about Amanda Batula and Kyle Cook from Summer House. And so I think that that was the refreshing thing to see with Paige is like it wasn't about Craig is this awful person. It's like no, like he deserves real love, and like I am not gonna be able to give him the type of love that this man actually wants. And I thought that that was just so refreshing. And if you actually watch Summer House this season, you'll see her go through that on camera, like crying and
Totally.
realizing, like, oh no, like I don't love him enough. I don't.
Yeah.
That's why I will always
It's
be.
very honest. And I think that is sometimes like it's the ins and outs of a breakup or the lead up to a breakup that you don't always see. Like
Right. You don't
I
see
think
those little fissures, you know?
I really related to it, like just in terms of my own personal experiences, because, and I saw someone like talk about this recently, and I think this is true of Paige, where, I saw something that basically said like the difference between men and women in breakups is that by the time a woman gets to a breakup, or like if she's, especially if she's the one initiating it, she has already done all of the mental and emotional work that by the time the breakup comes, there's nothing left. Like she doesn't feel anything for you anymore. And that has definitely been my experience. It's men who are more like having to start over and start that journey from the point of breakup. And I think
Yes.
to your point, that was what was kind of interesting of watching Paige this past season is
Perfect.
it's her basically going through that process that a lot of us women have gone through where you are detaching yourself from someone,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And if we're all being honest and vulnerable, that sometimes is a months, even
Yes.
years long process
Yes.
where you are really like talking yourself and unwinding yourself out of the relationship, really. And so I did find that very relatable. And I've had similar experiences where you're just having to like talk it out with friends, bounce things off of people, try and reflect about how you feel around this person, and it is that slow, gradual. Like we all got to watch that. She was, very, and I think last thing I will say too, I think that is why some of the reaction was unfair when it did happen. She was definitely portrayed as being the cold, like uncaring person. And I think that has less to do with who Paige is and more to do with what I'm saying. She, by the
Agreed.
time she was ready to leave Craig, had already, as we all got to watch, had already mentally and emotionally unwound herself from
Yes.
him. And that's why for the viewers, they were like, oh, what a cold hard bitch. Look at how
Yes.
she's being. And it's like, guys, no, like there's a whole season of episodes where you can watch the slow turmoil of
Yes.
her breakup. It's just that Craig didn't realize that that was happening. Like
Yes.
that's literally it.
Because, and that's so true because the audience was literally trying to paint her as a man eater when she is a lover girl. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, she loves men. She loves to be in relationships. She loves to be monogamous. It's not like she's this man hating whatever. You know what I mean? Like, actually, the opposite. So I agree with you. We were watching, that is a perfect way to say that. We were watching the active detachment and then post season, the fallout of that.
Yeah.
Whereas like Craig was just like, beep boop boop, she's gonna be my wife. I'm not even
We're
looking,
just full speed ahead. Da-da-da-da-da-da,
which is
and
just so
also like the
men.
signs were there if he was paying attention. They had tough
Oh, of
conversations where it was very
course.
obvious. So
Of course. Okay.
anyways, well,
Okay.
I'm going to veer into Salt Lake territory for my fave Bravo celeb. And again, I think a somewhat controversial figure. We'll talk about it next week. I watched Salt Lake last night. Was kind of surprised that it was going to be on this week. And there's definitely some stuff happening where I think people are, going to find my choice interesting without spoiling anything. But I am still a Meredith stan. And for me, I'm picking Meredith because one, I do think she's carried a lot of the drama on this
Yeah.
season, right? Whether she wanted to or not. But I also think like in very unique ways, Meredith understands what it is to be a housewife. And I think even how she navigates some of these like conversations and things like that, like she does have this clever way of like, I'm not going to talk about that. And then it shuts it down. And then in some ways it like creates more drama, but then in other ways it's her way of getting away with things, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I just I just find her to be a very fascinating housewife. And I
It
think I
is.
I can't think a lot of housewives I feel like I can say, "Oh, well that's their comparable person." Right? I don't know who that is with Meredith. Like I really don't. I can't think of another comparable one. I also
Interesting.
think it's hilarious that she's been DJing this year. Not hilarious, but like good for her,
Agree.
right? Like and at least because I know her and her family are often in New York, she is popping up in my Instagram feed all the time
Mhm.
DJing parties, which I'm just like, okay, like good for
Go
her,
girl.
like getting out there, like doing the thing. And then, if we really think too about like what she's giving to the Bravo universe, like it extends even beyond herself because she's also given us Brooks Marks, right? And like
It's so
while
fair.
Next Gen
It's so
NYC was
fair.
not like my favorite show, I will just say like Next Gen NYC would not be a show without Brooks.
It is merit. Yeah,
He is very needed on that show. Like his
absolutely.
just sort of
He's
like
producing.
his little comments are
Yeah.
hysterical. The way he kind of is friends with everyone, but
Mhm.
then, like there's just a lot of things about Brooks that I also enjoy. And so I think in that sense as well, it's like Meredith deserves a raise. I mean, like who else is, giving us amazing television on their franchise, and then also their Spawn is giving us amazing television as
I
well.
agree.
Pretty good. So yeah, I just have to hand it to Meredith. It's also probably a little bit colored by the fact that Meredith is one of the only housewives, well, outside of Bethany Frankel, that I have ever seen in person. I think it was like when Salt Lake first started, and I was out with some friends at like a new bar, and
Yeah.
she was like 10 feet away from us, just
Looking
looking
amazing.
flawless in one of
Ah,
her pantsuits.
hmm.
So
Pulling a Lisa
Meredith.
Vanderpump.
Meredith is my pick. Honorable mention for Kristen Doty, and it's not because she was giving so much on the Valley. It's just because, can we just all give a clap up for
The
Kristen Doty?
story.
What
The
an arc!
story.
What an arc! I mean, we've been watching
Started from
her
the bottom, now we're
for
here.
so long. And, to go back to some of your points too about like, you know, going through different periods of your life as a woman and, being vulnerable about, showing like her fertility journey and things like that. Like, it is just so crazy to think about where we started with Kristen Doty to where we are now. And I just want to say I am so happy for her. And I think she deserves all the happiness in the world. And she is just, I don't know, like, I think probably for me too, she's an encouraging example of like what is still possible in life, right? And like how quickly you can change your life. And so good for
Yeah.
Kristen.
Oh
I'm
my God.
happy that she got her man and her baby.
And I also think too, like again, Kristen is someone who say what you want to say, but like she didn't settle. She did not settle. She waited until she found someone that she thought was really stable,
Totally.
and had gone through and to be dating in LA for all of those years,
Rough.
like you gotta just give it up to Kristen.
And with everyone kind of knowing your history or it being, something easily accessible, I'm sure that's been tough over the years. And it
Another
is
thing,
really funny how she's emerged as one of the more like upstanding characters now. I mean, if you think about it, when Vanderpump was airing, Kristen was one of the ones that was like the most controversial, the most out there, outside of the Toms, right?
right?
I think what's funny now is like so many of her castmates have flamed out and basically crashed and burned their personal lives. And to your point, she's kind of come out the other side. And I think that's what's nice to see as a viewer.
And I just looked it up. The first episode, which she was on the first episode of Vanderpump Rules, came out January 7, 2013. She's maintained 13 years of relevancy.
That's insane. And that's
And
not easy to do.
it's once again, Katy Perry couldn't do it. So, just kidding.
It's crazy. Okay, well, let's leave the Bravo universe quickly. And I
Hi,
thought it would be
Bravo.
fun. Let's just do one more fave. I think, or not fave, but let's talk about what celebrity we think had the best 2025.
Mm,
Because there actually has been a lot of either like newcomers this year or folks that have sort of like re-energized their careers. But for me, there was really only one choice here, and it's Demi Moore.
I let's go.
Because I just feel like, and it is probably because we're getting older, where I'm finding it incredibly inspirational to watch women in their 50s and 60s who are like still looking effortless, still beautiful, stunning hair. The styling was perfection. Um, so yeah, to me, this was like a very, very easy one. Like, good for her. She's having a comeback. People are sort of either, being reminded of her, or I'm sure there's a lot of people that are even discovering her for the first time. And, hats off to her. She had a banner year.
And to call back into Bravo, this is like kind of like a weird tangential thing. The Rachel Zoe project, because Rachel Zoe is now on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She used to have a junior stylist work for her, Brad Goreski, and he was a big part of that show. Brad is Demi's current stylist, so he
There we
styled
go.
her for the goal. And so it's just fun to see his career really take off after,
Progression,
I mean, in
totally.
a different way, you know? But I'm like, go, Brad. Like, you
I
are
always
doing
liked
it.
Brad's style more than
Me
Rachel.
too.
I always, they would butt heads about certain decisions, and I always sided with Brad.
Brad was always like, not this. And I was like, yes, that, go with Brad. Brad knows. So
Yeah.
yes, I love that. So
How
mine,
about you?
so mine joint, right? Ariana and Cynthia. The reason I say Ariana and Cynthia is because I think what we saw in 2024 was this balls to the wall marketing campaign for Wicked, the part one, right? And boom, 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 boom. I mean, we were getting hit over the head with them. Then in 2025, when the second movie came out, right, or the tail end, whenever it came out, 20 into 2024, whatever. Um, we didn't hear that. We didn't see
Yeah,
that, right? Because they were so smart and they rode that epic marketing from the previous
totally.
year so that this year they could just like attend a couple of things. And the way that like Ariana's hair is coming back from the blonde into her brown, we just saw her on SNL kill it. I just think that the two of them did what they needed to do for that major movie the right way. They have played the game the right way. Bodies aside, I have no idea what's going on with them. That's not my space to talk about. I just think that what we're seeing is two women who were incredibly in control
Yeah,
of their press run and leaned on each other to get through it in a way that I thought was really beautiful. And I think it can be like a good message that you don't have to get like swallowed up by this stuff. Like you can dictate the way that you want to come across, even if
totally.
it's crazy and weird. It's like, no, you know what? We're going to be authentic to the culture that we built on set and let people into that culture. And it's this
And also not
like
care
kid.
because they just continued to behave the way they've been behaving despite what people say.
You
So, I mean,
and
they're also like,
you and I both were theater kids, so we know this to be true that, like, you guys, theater kids are weird and
yes,
sit behind the stage for like 4 hours every night till you're 10 minutes that you're on stage. And in all of that sitting behind stage, a bunch of weird stuff happens. And it's just the nature of being in theater. And that's what they
yeah,
go
it
for.
is. There's like a silliness level. There's like, yeah,
It
there's
is.
a lot of things that I think bond you when you go through experiences like that. And I think it's
Yeah.
clear that, that's
You
really all
become
that's
a
happened.
family on every little set that you're
Yeah,
on.
and also too the fact that it's like two-part movie, like, they've been on
Yeah, they've been together for quite some time. This has been years in the making. So
quite the
kudos to
journey.
them. I do think that we're going to see potentially Ariana go for this Audrey Hepburn movie that's supposedly in the works. I think that could be really interesting. I'm a little afraid of what that means for her, like ongoing the body stuff, because as we know, Audrey Hepburn was like a thimble.
Yeah.
So, I hope that that all, resolves itself. But
Well, I think the big thing there is that you and I definitely need to come up with a plan because I will see Ariana Grande in concert next year. This is
oh my,
what she is saying likely to be the last time that she ever tours, which
which I could
I
see.
I kind of believe. So like we have to be there. I think the tickets are already like thousands and thousands of dollars. I wish she wouldn't have said it was the last time, but I have never seen her in concert, and she is definitely one of those ones that I would love to see live because I just think she has so many songs that I love. And you just know like she can sing.
She
I
can
think that's
sing.
like why I hesitate to go to so many concerts these days. It's just because like yes, I might like the way that the finished track sounds, but we're definitely going through a period where artists are maybe not as talented as they used to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's
Ariana is
more
the real one.
we're operating on a lot of vibes, which
Yes,
is great.
a
Which
lot
is
of aesthetics, a
a lot
lot
of
of,
aesthetic. Oh, what is it? What's that?
producing.
Fabulous gowns, fabulous gowns. That's what we'll say.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
Should we
we're
bring it? Let's bring it home. With just like a quick, if you haven't read it yet. And Rhinestoners, I mean, let us know. I know, Danae, you are probably a little bit more into books right now than I am, but that is something I'm interested in picking back up again in 2026.
100%.
So I think potentially we could maybe start to work in books as well. But I think for this year, we definitely focused more on some of the viral articles that were going around or things that were just like hot topics. So we're just going to leave you all with a quick recommendation if you haven't read it yet. I think for me, it's going to be an article that we actually did talk about on Rhinestoned that came out in Vogue a few months back. Or I think it was like, is having a boyfriend embarrassing?
Hmm.
The reason I think people should read it is because you and I are always having an ongoing conversation, I think, between the shifting dynamics between men and women.
Hmm.
And it's interesting whenever you get sort of a pulse check, I think, on what people are really thinking in the moment. We've definitely been in an era of a lot of, like women being independent and not as interested in relationships and things like that. And then a few months ago, it sort of culminated in this moment of, is it now actually embarrassing to have a boyfriend? You and I really did get into it on the podcast. I don't remember what episode that was. We'll have to leave it in the comments if you want to go back and
We'll
see
do
what
that.
we discuss, but our opinions might not be what you think. I think we definitely had a more nuanced view of that conversation. And, as people who have been in relationships, and we both currently are in relationships with men, I think we have to be very careful with like some of this rhetoric. But it's just interesting that this is the moment that we're in now where, being partnered up is actually something that's embarrassing. So if you didn't
Yeah.
read that one, go check it out.
Check it out. I think that came out of Vogue. I want to say, I want to say French Vogue. But I know I'm looking at it right now. Shantae Joseph came out sometime in October. We will leave the link to it in our YouTube. I'm not quite sure how to leave links in Spotify yet, but I'll figure it out. And then mine came out from the New York Times this year. Lulu Garcia Navarro interviewed Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence had some films come out this year, or film come out this year. And it was just really interesting. Basically, article title is Jennifer Lawrence regrets everything that she said up till now. And it's accompanied by a video. So if you don't want to read the
Oh,
article, just go onto YouTube and watch the video of her getting, because I think it's fun too, just to see her facial reactions and stuff
yeah.
too.
She
She
does have great
she
mannerisms.
she does. She has great mannerism. She's very self-deprecating in the interview. I think it's just really interesting that yeah, like there have been stars. I would say Anne Hathaway falls into this category too, where it's like for no reason at all, we all decided that we hated her.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I sincerely don't even remember. It had something to do with that Oscars that she did with James
She
Franco.
was cringe. I
She was
actually just saw
cringe.
something where she was crediting who's was it Nolan? Who's the director of Interstellar?
Christopher
Ridley
Nolan.
Scott? Okay, yeah. She was crediting him with like saving her career because she said like that was that time when everyone was hating her and he was like he took a chance by casting her in that and that then started another slate of films for her and so
Which
she was like without
which by
him
the way, If you haven't seen Anne Hathaway in Interstellar, I don't know what you're doing. It did save her career. She's so freaking good in that.
No, totally. But that's what she said. She was like, he cast me at a time when my public perception was very low.
I never
So,
knew that. I never heard that before, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, she makes that film about something more than what that film was about.
yeah,
So yes, that's my recommendation. This was
I
so
haven't read that, so
fun.
I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Check it out. Absolutely. Cool.
Well, another episode in the can. Rhinestoners, we hope everyone had a great 2025, and we are so, so excited to see you in 2026. We will be filming our next episode next week and probably getting back to some good Bravo recaps. We have Salt Lake finale next week. We have the return of Southern Charm and Beverly Hills, which have been on a little holiday hiatus, and I'm sure.
I have to know what happened in the hot tub with Craig and Sally. I'm such a sucker.
I
I'm
know. I'm dying to. I can't. It's a whole other conversation, but I
I
know
know.
I am going to be curious. I think we get some Miss Pat next week, which I am excited for
But you
because,
know I'm Miss
yeah.
Pat, by the way, y'all, I think it was her TikTok, go to or her Instagram. All it is for the last 3 days is her posting videos of Michael at the holidays. It'll literally rip your heart out. It's like
Oh,
she misses him so much, and it makes me
I miss Michael. Yeah, it is
oh,
sad without him.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
Yeah, it's a
No, this
bummer.
was so fun. I'll see you next week, my love.
I will see you. Have an amazing New Year's.
Have an amazing New Year's.
Bye,
Bye,
Rhinestoners.
Rhinestoners.